everyone, welcome to another edition of Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs, where we talk about independent wrestling here on the MrWarrenHayes YouTube channel. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, accompanied by my co-host Sean Taggart.
We're having a time tonight.
Yeah, look, I think everything that could potentially go wrong before starting a stream happened. I had bitrate issues, which I fixed because I was an idiot. We had sound issues. And then when we actually started off, I'm throwing around the Mr. Warren Hayes theme. I'm like, look, keep your branding consistent, Warren, if anything.
It is a nice tune, so I wouldn't blame you for wanting to play that for a little bit. You know, there's nothing wrong with the Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs tune either.
Which is
get that one.
It's very peppy, you know.
It is. It gets you pumped up a little bit as we're ready to talk.
You know,
snappy
finger snaps.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it. It was like almost a cappella with just a bass line. And I was like, this is pretty dope.
This is really nice.
We're minimalist. We do things that way here.
Very DIY.
Very Have you been, Sean?
Good. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad. Not bad at all. This weekend, as per usual, I watched a lot of professional wrestling. But, here's a little something. Sometimes it's the little things in life that make things grand.
Sure. I get that.
I changed my sheets I changed my sheet cycle, let's put it that way, from the winter cold season sheets to the warmer sheets. So basically I pulled out the spring sets for the week.
So you put out your summer dressings on your bed.
Yeah. And when you climb into them for the first time after spending 8 months, on layers upon layers on top of you, I find like it's a duality. Like on one hand, it's very, it's very nice and light, and you're like, oh,
sure.
Okay, this is. But on the other side, you're like, wow, I feel naked, I feel exposed, I feel nude,
It's like you're missing something there.
Exactly.
At least for the first couple nights, you're like, I should be covered in like pounds of sheets and like blankets. And all you have is the sheet, the top sheet maybe, and that's it maybe, or maybe like sheet, a nice little blanket,
a light comforter, one of these, that breathes quite a bit,
Sure, I get that.
And I woke up and you're absolutely right, because I woke up in the middle of the night and was like, and then I started grabbing for the blankets and I'm like, oh shit, I don't have them anymore.
Gonna have to tough it out.
I'm gonna have to tough this one out.
That's why you have a nice little basket in the room, if you can fit a basket, and you put some extra blankets in there, and if you need to, you can always go up and grab. I know you have to get out of the bed, but hey, you have a blanket there if you need it.
That's not a bad plan.
Or you can just deal with it.
Or I could just deal with it. Here's option 3: get a housekeeper who could, set up some bells. Using, some velveteen strings, cling, 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 cling. And then she comes into your
Pour me my blanket.
Yes. Pull out my comfy blanket. Yes, sir.
And then
it's like 3:30 a.m.
Your blanket, see? You'll get all into that. Where's my blanket, hussy?
You didn't put it on right. My toesies are cold. Pull it down. Somewhere between Al Capone and the Penguin is that one.
Yeah. You got the wrong one, eh? Hey, back ahead.
This isn't the middle of January anymore. I swear.
That definitely sounds like the Penguin.
That's definitely getting some Penguin.
Sounds like a whiny penguin. And you will only get this every Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Mr. Warren Hayes YouTube channel.
Well, especially, yes, thank you. Especially on Tuesdays here. Right?
Yeah, it's good banter before we jumped in.
Yeah, because Sean actually feeds into this nonsense, so it keeps me going.
I got to. You gotta keep it going, because you never know Every last minute is a memory, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow. All right. Well, look. Why don't we get to pro wrestling, independent wrestling? This is what we talk about here on the show. And
We
when we're
do.
not talking about linens. By the way, think about a subscription, a follow here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, a like. Those things are
Thumbs up.
awesome. Yes, exactly. Those things are
Can only
awesome and
do
help
one,
out.
but two thumbs up.
Look, I mean, if you can find a way to give two, like I would not encourage anyone to game the system, you know? So don't do it.
I would do whatever you can.
Might be against like some terms of service or something to
Yeah, I
be
guess so. Don't do that. We don't want to get demonetized
no
further.
or shut down, which
Yeah,
is objectively worse.
it
Um
is.
we've got some news going on. Well, what do we got, Sean? That
Yeah,
happened?
we got quite a bit of news here. As I wish we had like a news like a transition to that kind of thing. Breaking news, all that.
I'll
Whatever. We're
get the
not that
team on it.
fancy.
I'll get the team on it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. In Chicago, Illinois, we have freelance wrestling. Brian Keith becomes your freelance wrestling legacy title holder after he defeated Robert Anthony on Friday night's Over the Top show. This is Brian Keith's first title win in freelance wrestling. Uh, Robert Anthony still has the freelance world title. He will face the winner of the Over the Top Royal Rumble, which went to Storm Grayson, I believe, in the next upcoming show for freelance wrestling. So, congratulations to Storm Grayson, and also much congratulations to Brian Keith for winning that title here and taking the hold off a little bit of Robert Ego Anthony and Frank the Clown, Warren's favorite clown.
You know what I realized not that long ago? Like, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say it because
What's
probably
that?
for a lot of people is like, sure. But really not that long ago. Robert Anthony's like 2 decades in the business.
Yeah, I mean, he was known for his time in
Sure. CZ.
CZW as Ego Fantastico against Gage and Moxley during that whole 2010 title reign for Moxley in CZW. So, yeah, he's been around for a while. He had some looks in AEW Dark during the Daily's Place pandemic era, Darks and Elevation. So it's nice to see him there. And he's a veteran of the business, a gym teacher during the day and a pure dick during the night. So,
Hangs out with clowns.
yeah, and is a clown himself. Speaking of clowns, IWTV and GCW will have their first settlement series show in the
Oh,
mecca of Northeast independent wrestling, the Madison Square Garden of Knights of Columbus, the Phil Sheridan Building in Ridgefield Park on July 10th. This is the first of 6 shows that GCW will be putting on IWTV, which GCW aptly named the Settlement Series. Really, that's most of the notes there from the post wrestling article is also shared on IWTV's website. Also announced for that doubleheader will be JCW, including the debut of Konesuke Takeshita. So that should be fun.
that should be a
That
lot
will
of
be
fun.
also heading at the Phil in Ridgefield Park on July 10th. Um,
I I heard, and right,
mhm.
heard as in, unsubstantiated, and I did not care enough to follow up on it. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll just talk about it with Sean.
Sure.
These aren't JCW shows they're going to be putting on, right? Or not, it's not going to be Jersey City, right?
No, it's not going to be Jersey Championship Wrestling, though there is a running joke amongst GCW fans that it will be. And when they go to LA, it'll be an LA fight show huddled up as a GCW show.
Because
But
that would be a breach of their terms if they did that, right?
I mean, you can't. I mean, can you prove it?
Well,
You
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
okay. I haven't no, I'm not aware of the particulars of the outcome of the lawsuit, right? I haven't
Yeah.
read the minutes of it. I wasn't there in the room, but I would
Mhm.
assume that if you know, it's wrestling promoters, right? I would assume that everyone sitting around the table would be like, your show has to be branded GCW, you know?
Right. I mean, it can be branded GCW, but it could have an influx of different talent. GCW used to do these shows back when before they became big, called the compound shows, which was really a
Sure,
way
right.
to showcase new talent and bring in new people. This is how a lot of GCW fans found out about AJ Gray, Alley Catch, Effie, so on and so forth. They could do this similar style show if they want. There's really nothing that's been shared on the GCW side of things. Number one, about this show, though I think we're going to be seeing it soon as the tickets for the JCW show goes on sale this Friday. But another thing to point out too is is this leading to a title shot? What's the point of the settlement series? Like, is it just what they're calling these 6 shows for IWTV?
Yeah.
Nothing's really been
Just for
truly
legals.
shared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
nothing's
well.
really been shared as much.
I'm still very curious. Still very curious.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. I mean, I think once you see some of the talent announcements and everything of the like, think you can get yourself an idea of what type of show it's going to be. At the same time, if you see a Jordan Oliver, Cole Radrick, a Janella announced, I mean, they do both anyway. So
Yeah.
it's really not too much of a difference.
I'm just thinking, like, they probably won't drag in, they won't drag in like the retired superstar names. Like, you won't see a Sean Waltman show up. You won't see Jeff Jarrett. I don't know why, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm assuming probably some of the, like you said, some of the regulars that run the gamut of the JCW and GCW shows. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I know part of the conditions on this was that neither side, or mainly the GCW side, wouldn't be making any stream revenue off these shows or anything like that. So, we'll see what happens in the course of this. There's 6 shows that they have to do within the calendar year of when the settlement was agreed to. Be interested in seeing what plays out, and who knows, maybe, I mean, this is a big long shot, but maybe this helps, fix some of the relationship between IWTV and GCW to do something similar of the like, maybe a little bit more frequently than they were now,
Yeah.
or even before. So time will tell. But we go over to Akron, Ohio, where Britt Baker returns to AIW during Gauntlet for the Gold and got a Road Warrior pop, if I ever heard one, on the independent circuit. It was a loud pop. I know a lot of the folks at AIW were sharing that reaction when you heard the Doctor Will See You Now. That crowd went nuts. It was really a good homecoming for Britt. Most of her time in the independent scene, besides being in IWC in Pittsburgh, was in Absolute Intense Wrestling, where she really got involved and built herself as a decent performer, getting into the AIW school, getting taught by Candice and Johnny there, along with her team of Don Greeny, who was actually facing Cardona for the AIW title that night until PME came in and interfered. But it was nice to see her reunite with Greeny and the Rip City Shooters of Wes Barkley and Joshua Bishop taking on Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green, and the Philly Marino Experience in a fun little 8-man tag that took place on their show this past Saturday.
Well,
So
why not? Complete homecoming. Good for her. Good for her if she still feels she can stretch her legs like this, and go back to the places that matter for her. I'm all for it. That's good.
Yeah, it's good seeing more AEW wrestlers come out on the indies besides like the expected ones. Like, you did see Darby go to Defy a couple months ago. You saw Britt return to AIW. You're seeing a little bit more in terms of people coming out and spreading their wings there. Hope to see more of that, because it's nice seeing other performers in AEW come out besides your normal of seeing Moxley do his thing. Kingston, who also wrestled on this AIW show against Isaiah Bronner, come out and do Indie Weekend. Ethan Page is starting to do a little bit more after he's settled now in the United States, where he's living in Detroit now. He moved down out from Canada.
Detroit.
Yeah, that's what you chose.
That's a choice.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a lot a lot of exciting time on the independent scene, as you know, you get the rub from the AEW superstars or wrestlers
Sure.
that come out. Speaking of AIW Gauntlet for the Gold, Josh Bishop wins the title shot after winning the 30-man Royal Rumble, or Gauntlet for the Gold as they call it, and will challenge Matt Cardona at Absolution 17 in July. So AEW has been around Cleveland Championship Wrestling. It started out back in the late 90s, mid late 90s before switching to AIW. It's been a staple in Ohio for quite some time, and
Sure.
it's good to see them come back after the pandemic and really showcase themselves as one of the top indies in the United States and on the Midwest. So,
Well, there you
I
go.
like that.
Um,
We also have
yeah, tell us about Marcus Mathers,
regional heel Marcus Mathers
regional
went
heel.
to regional heel Marcus Mathers went down south this weekend, wrestled over an action on Saturday against Damian Tangra in a fun match where, the Mathers was portrayed as the bad guy here, obviously hyping up the Northeast as the best side of the United States, the best region. Got booed out by the action crowd. Was a big size crowd, about 400, 500 people in a high school gym. So it was nice seeing them get some traction there. Was main evented by Alan Angels and AC Mack for the IWTV title. Mack retained that, and out comes Mathers, who attacks the knee and clips him. AC Mack, that is. And then we start off Uncharted Territory episode 3 this week with Mathers handing in his IWTV contract that he did win, but then got stolen by Matt Mikowski before Mikowski went out with injury. And Mathers lost that match and lost the title shot. AC Mack overcame the odds. AC Mack is, again, one of those that has consistently defended the title around the Southeast, will make the occasional appearance up north if necessary, or forced to, that rather. But yeah, it was interesting to see Mathers as a heel, which I think threw him off at first because he's the fun loving, everyone loves him up north and stuff like that. But him coming out and playing the heel character, I don't think he warmed up to it.
Sure.
As he went on, but it wasn't something I think he was expecting. We're going to end this news desk here with the first round of Tournament of Survival 7, GCW's first deathmatch tournament of the year. Will be taking place June 4th in the Showboat of Atlantic City. Drew Parker, Cole Radrick, Rina Yameshita, and Hoodfoot, Matt Tremont, and Slade, and Toru Segura of Freedoms taking on Shane Mercer are your first round matches. Stipulations probably will be announced early to mid next week. So there's your news.
There's a lot of these first round matches which are really hard to call.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe outside of some things like, okay, do you fly in Drew Parker to have him lose first round? Probably not,
No.
right? But you can also, outside of that, you could make a case that Cole Radrick is he's hot right now. He's got.
Mm-hmm.
He's got he's got momentum. I don't know if we call him hot, but he's got some good build going. And moving forward in the tournament here would be great, but they probably didn't bring Drew Parker over to just lose in the opening one. Do you think I'd really like your thoughts on Matt Tremont and Slade, which I think is, politics aside, is relatively a tough one to call, I find.
Relatively a tough one to call. I mean, Slade's been also on this interesting run between JCW and more recently GCW in terms of coming out and helping Nick Gage at Spring Break when Tremont couldn't get out there and defend the tag titles against the Briscoes. And then you've seen him really almost like a cult-like following with GCW fans or just like Northeast wrestling fans in general.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's a real interesting rise. I mean, Tremont, this is one of the only deathmatch tournaments that he hasn't won. So he's coming into this wanting to win one of the only few that he hasn't won yet. It's an interesting lineup. It's an interesting field. I mean, you look at Yameshita Hoodfoot. Yameshita is a very good, one of the only, actually the only woman in Pro Wrestling Freedoms to be heavily involved in deathmatch and also wrestle for that company. So she's made an impression all the way back at the Nick Gage Invitational for the GCW fan base last year. She's the first woman to wrestle in both major GCW deathmatch tournaments.
Sure.
Hoodfoot's also on the rise. I think him getting the opportunities in the deathmatch division in GCW has increased his stock tremendously. That's also a flip of the coin.
Yeah,
I think
really
I think your only gimme in this first round, and I'm saying this just based on Shane Mercer's. He hasn't been in a lot. He was in King of the Deathmatch last year for IWA Mid-South, but Toru Segura is, a legend in his own right over in Pro Wrestling Freedoms. He was a King of Freedoms champion. I think, this is the one that you could look at, okay, Segura is going to make it to the second round. Looking at the rest of this, it's a coin flip. It's a hard coin flip, and most of the time when I flip the coin, it lands on its side. So I'm not really sure what to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that Drew Parker's flew into the U.S.
If you look at it from a bigger standpoint, like you just mentioned, Drew flew from Japan into the U.S. Is doing quite a few GCW shows, and like before going back over to his home country to wrestle there for a little bit and also figure out his visa situation so he can come back and do this excursion that he wants to do, that he really wanted to do earlier this year, but the Japan lockdown and everything really slowed all that down. But I do think this is Parker's tournament to lose.
Yeah, I agree.
But him and Tremont are the favorites, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the final.
All right. Well, thanks for the news, Shawn. Let's start talking about some shows that we watched. We're gonna go back in time a little bit. We're gonna go back 2 weeks, just about a little, not quite 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. We're gonna talk about the Friday the 13th show from C4 Wrestling, which I was unable to attend this time around. And we were unable to watch on time because C4 has decided to release the IWTV, their recording of the show on Tuesdays after we're done recording the show. So
I wouldn't blame C4 for that. I blame IWTV for not accommodating our needs and our wants. Make it the Monday after Uncharted.
Let's spread the blame around. Yeah, put it after Uncharted, you geeks. Putting it on 10 a.m. on a Tuesday regardless. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Put it after when everyone's done watching Uncharted, when the hopeless romantics are done watching Raw. And then they can head on over to C4. Look, but we did, you watched the show, right, Shawn?
I did, yeah. I watched the show, and again, another show that C4 continues to showcase why they're one of the better indie promotions, or the premier indie promotion in Ottawa, Canada.
Yeah,
in Canada in general.
Right now, much love to our pal Spencer Love out there in Alberta, running Love Wrestling. No disrespect intended, but C4. Like right now, I don't think there's any promotion in the country in Canada right now that's running this type of show, such strong shows, with a mix of local talent and AAA indie stars, or Triple I, if you prefer.
That's what you did there.
Thank you. I don't think there's anyone in the country who comes close to this. It is Canada's premier independent wrestling promotion, and I think they need to be proud of it because it is very, very good. Running out of the nation's capital. On top of that, you can go down to Rideau Hall once you're done watching a show there, Shawn. You can go over to Parliament Hill if you want, say hello to Justin Trudeau. Can go see his home on Sussex Drive.
Wow.
So much to do in
So
Ottawa.
much to do, so much to see.
Um, okay. My match of the night. We're gonna
Yeah.
go right in with it, and I'm pretty sure it's the same as yours. It's Jeff Cobb and Junior Benito. I don't know about you, but that match ruled from top to bottom, and it was the match that was the match that would have got me in my car for 4 hours and 50 minutes to drive over to Ottawa to see this. Unfortunately, like I said, I just couldn't make it. But that was the match. When I saw that, I was like, okay, well, this is it. And boy, oh boy, it delivered.
It's just amazing because, like, for me, watching C4 has brought me the attention to a guy like Junior Benito, who, prior to this, I've heard of, but I've never truly seen. Like, this guy. Mung Jae Lee is another one who really is somebody who C4 has really given a lot of attention to and, well deserving attention to, as these are two guys that are rising up, and I think their star profile is gonna be something by this time next year.
This is the moment. This is the moment where Shawn and I tell you guys to get on board the Junior Benito train. You this is when they print out like a first edition, right, of collector cards, right? And you're able to go, this is it. This is the moment where you're going to be able to say, I remember when he was fighting Jeff Cobb at C4, kind of thing. I saw him wrestle for the first time at the previous show I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my mind. Went to see him at the merch table, bought his shirt. It's just something where I'm like, and here, he gelled so well with Cobb, right? And Indies Cobb is very different than New Japan Cobb, where, the United Empire, they're a bunch of heels. Here, Jeff Cobb is a lot looser. He's having some fun, sits down in the audience during his introduction, and he's clapping around. And, he's not quite the United Empire tough guy heel type. A lot looser, but not loose in the ring. Jesus, this man. Jeff Cobb is just absolute. He's unreal. He is physically, until you see Jeff Cobb, there's a lot of things you say to yourself a human being can't do. But then you see him just pulling off standing moonsaults and just throwing himself off of off the top rope to the floor and all that stuff. It's just amazing, and explosiveness on top of that. That's the thing. But Junior Benito lifted him on his shoulders.
It made it look easy too.
Just lifted him on his shoulders, and I've been trying to figure out the move. I can't remember the name for the life of me, and it's in my notes with a big blank and a frowny face because I can't remember the name. When you have someone in a fireman's carry, and then the guy flips over, so dumps the guy on the shoulder on his back, but the dude follows through on the flip, and then lands on his feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't think of the name either.
And it's completely slipping my mind. But when I saw that, I just popped right out of my seat.
Benito continues to impress, and he is really, somebody I'll take my time to and watch if I see him pop up on another indie show card. Granted, he's still, a rising star in C4 and everything like that, but with his matches, the past two shows that we've seen him, and especially this Cobb match took him to the next level quick.
And it won't be long, I don't think, until he gets the appropriate visas to go. Getting a visa to work in the States is much more complicated than getting a visa to work in Canada. Did you know that? It's much more complicated.
Why do you think a lot of the Canadian independent wrestlers did what they did only to get, what happened to Bailey and all that stuff? But yeah, great match.
No, just a fantastic match. I think it won't be very long until he starts popping up on some of the super indies in the US because he's just that good. He's really good, charismatic on top of that.
Carries himself very well in the ring, and he's just a fun time to boot. before, one match I want to talk about a little
Sure.
bit was the Janella Viking match, the main event of the show. I thought for a I can't even speak, a hardcore brawl.
Hard quarter match.
Yeah, a hard quarter match where they play a game of quarters and beat the living shit out of each other afterwards.
With the quarters.
With the quarters as brass knuckles. But no, this was a really fun brawl. Viking is a GCW original, surprisingly enough. So this was really nice to see Janella get back in there in Viking's home country and take a little bit more of a beating from Viking than I think he would in Hal, New Jersey. But this was a lot of fun. This spread around the entire arena. Another packed show for C4, which is another great sight to see. Just a lot of fun here, too. I mean, Janella is on a interesting run right now where I think he's proven himself as, it didn't work out in AEW. He owns up to it to an extent. And he's really trying to make the most of it and make himself undeniable on the indies, which I think is where his heart really lied. After how things went with AEW for him in his eyes, he thought the indie way is probably the best thing for him, because you look at what he does, and we'll talk a little bit more about Janella near the end of the show. But I just want to say quickly, like, Janella knows how to work an indie crowd, I think, better than a television crowd. He's more, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I was having this discussion recently about Joey, but I mean, we will be talking about him again. Obviously we're not in his boots. We don't understand, everything that happened or how it all went down. But, sometimes there's nothing like losing a contract, right? Losing a big money contract to give you the kick in the pants. And I think you and we've even talked about this. To give you the kick in the pants to be like, look, I gotta tighten my shit here up. I gotta tighten up my shit. I gotta get back on things on whatever level, right? Because the thing is like everyone acts like, the ECW door is closed. Excuse me, ECW. Where am I living at?
EC Dub.
Yeah,
EC Dub.
What the hell? Everyone's acting like the AEW door is closed forever, right? But you never know in wrestling.
I don't think, you never know in the business, but as of right now, I think it's closed on Joey's end. I don't think Joey sees, and things can change, situations can change, but for right now, I think Joey's very content of proving himself not only on the independent scene, but proving himself internationally as well. Going back over to Japan, going back over into the UK, and taking over cities and towns there. Maybe he's the one that single-handedly brings back the UK indie scene. Who knows? But
no pressure.
No pressure. But I mean, I think he thrives in that type of pressure situation where he wasn't really getting put in those pressure situations in AEW. Like, Joe, you really need you to showcase this XYZ talent on the indies. And look what he's done for, GCW in showcasing XYZ talent. Look what Joey's a great eye for talent, but Joey's also very good at putting other wrestlers over. Mm-hmm. And like, again, I know we're going off topic here a little bit about Joey, and we have another topic about Joey a little bit later, but I thought this was a fun match. I feel like for a main event and stuff like that, this was like a nice go-home style match, get everyone, a little bit rowdier than a normal main event that you probably would see at C4 when it would involve, maybe the champion Mike Bailey and someone else. But this was still a feel-good match. This was a lot of fun. This got a different type of reaction out of the crowd, I think, more, amped and excited to see, what was going to happen next in this entire match. And, there was a lot of times that I thought Viking would pull this out, but Janella, came out on top and really put over C4, put over Viking, put over independent wrestling. He gave a good speech at the end of the show. And you sent the fans home happy that like Janella.
And that's what you should do when you're done with a wrestling show, right? Just imagine that.
Exactly. Yeah, surprising.
I didn't realize that Viking was from Quebec. I didn't realize it until he started insulting Janella. I couldn't quite catch what he told him what he said at first, but he called him mon gros tabarnak. Mon gros tabarnak.
Mongo Tabernacle?
No, you only wish. Mon gros is anyway. Mon gros is it's sort of it sounds, but it's essentially you're saying you fat tabarnak, which could be like, I'd say motherfucker, because tabarnak is very, in French Canada we don't just swear, we blaspheme. Did you know this?
I'm starting to learn this.
Because Americans, I find you guys swear, but you're very tame. Like it's sexual things. It's things about feces. It's like bullshit. We're actually rattling the cage. We're like trying to get God to get pissed off at us. Because tabarnak is tabernacle, essentially, right? That's what it is. We'll also throw out another one called calice, which is a chalice, right? Hostie, which is a host. So always, always very religious theme. We want to invoke the wrath of God, and then you combine them, right? And then you go, hostie de tabarnak. That's very, very visceral. Or Christ, which is close to Christ. Jésus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Toi, mon Christ de tabarnak. Mon hostie de cave.
Warren, calm down. We don't want to get kicked off.
Murph won't be fine.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure the Holy See is not going to come after me.
So is Le Tabernacle des Team the team of motherfuckers?
Exactly, the motherfucking team kind of thing.
Okay, I like that.
Because it's not an exact translation, but in intent, right? Like, motherfucker and tabarnak sort of have the same intent, the same weight.
Yeah.
Chris, fuck, to me, it's the same. He fucks, hey, Chris. It's kind of like the same. But they don't.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah. Wow, a French lesson on
French-Canadian
hot dogs
lesson.
French-Canadian lesson on hot shakes and hand dogs. Only every Tuesday on YouTube.
Every Tuesday. I also want to point out real quick the four-way match, Mathers, Alex Price, Cecil Nix, and Joshua Bishop, which was really good too. Really, really good.
Yeah, and you know what the thing was? Watching this match at home, it felt different than, like we've talked about scramble matches or four-ways and multi-man matches in general, where I feel like it's a little bit different watching live than it is at home. Because you had a feeling of that, I think, the first C4 show you went to.
Where we had a scramble, and I was like, oh, I'm going to hate this, but no, it turned out I was like, this is dope.
But this was a lot of fun in its own way. I do love seeing the four participants in this match fight against each other. It was a lot of fun. Cecil Nix, very good in the ring, veteran of IWS.
Very over in C4 as well.
Oh yeah, very over. Alec Price getting the heel heat that I know he craves and loves. So it was good to see him, fit in. And then also, who doesn't love Josh Bishop just, running through everyone?
He was the biggest, he was even, Cecil Nix is not a small, he's short, but hefty.
But he's a big dude. Yeah.
Right.
But even Joshua Bishop
is
even care.
He's running through everyone. No, I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Pretty good show. I'm excited. I'm probably going to make it to the next C4 show, with the main event being Mike Bailey versus Alex Shelley.
That's gonna be a fun match. That's gonna be a fun show too.
That's one you go. That's one you put the miles on your car for.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing who Benito and Myung Jae Lee get as opponents for that show too, because I'm assuming they'll be on the show.
They'll probably be on the show as well. Should we move on? Do you have anything else to add for the C4 show?
Nothing else from the C4 show. It's time to get and see the past week of shows that we watched, and one of them being the finale of Enjoy Wrestling Renegade. I'm kind of sad about this because this 3-part series, very good. Again, a digestible 54 minutes of action throughout, and we got 2 good matches to boot out of this, especially Moriarty and Mike Bailey to start off the show. Goddamn, give me more of that. I want a rematch. I don't care if it's a tag team match. I don't care, if they're in a three-way with one another. Just give me more of those two in the ring together.
I'm trying to find my notes because I'm going through my. Oh, there we go. And enjoy wrestling. Yes, there we go. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. And this one, they had an extended feeling out period, right? But when this match started to cook, it cooked. And it did not stop. You even had Lee Moriarty pulling out the Pepsi Twist at some point. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if someone over in AEW is teaching him these things and giving him his blessing. You always have to ask, right? I feel like if you're going to take Taz's moves, you have to ask him, right? You absolutely have to, because Taz will get mad at you if you start aping his moves.
You think Hook had asked Taz for their use of the Taz mission, now known as the Red Room, or Taz gifted it to him as a
Taz
birthday gift?
Like, yeah, but you mow the lawn for the next 6 years. Thing. Yeah, but
Taz gave him the Taz mission and then let go of the hold and said, "It's yours now, punk."
No, this absolutely ruled. It's just as good as you would think a Lee Moriarty Speedball Mike Bailey match would be. I would even argue, Sean, that they have another one in the tank that could be even better than this. As good as this was, I don't even think we hit the ceiling on this one yet.
I think you could get this to be another one of those trilogy series like Moriarty had with Alex Shelley, that each one of those matches get better and better.
Yep.
And, they'll split the first two matches and then, we'll see who gets the third decisive victory. But these two really have some great chemistry with one another. I like Veda wanting to be non-biased because she loves Lee Moriarty. Didn't even mention Bailey, which was funny to me, knowing that she's Mike Bailey's biggest fan. But it was really fun and exciting to watch. I mean, it just felt nice also in that venue. It just felt like a more intimate,
Sure.
viewing of a match of that caliber. I like the lighting, how it was like dim, and really just focusing on the in-ring competitors. But just that whole building is, the Mr. Small's Theater is a very nice,
what a great
quiet
venue.
building.
What a great venue. Yeah, honestly,
they did good finding that venue. I mean, after their first two runs out at another different venue, it's just really cool to see, wrestling done right in Pittsburgh. But I mean, Pittsburgh made, Lee Moriarty picks up the big win here.
Yeah.
Just a lot of back and forth stuff. I mean, a lot of near falls near the end. It just felt
he kicks out of a flamingo driver. Our boy kicks out of the flamingo driver.
That many people can say that.
No,
especially on the indies.
I absolutely love this match. It was one of my favorite matches I saw. I watched last week, and then we had the main event. The Enjoy champion MV Young successfully retained his title against JD Drake, which fun, right? Dove into the history thanks to some exquisite commentary, which is always a plus. Bringing back, a previous match where JD Drake just beat the shit out of MV Young, and MV Young comes in as the champion, but also with something to prove, a little chip on his shoulder. Sort of like, I'm not the same wrestler, I'm not the same guy. Here I'm coming after you. And you know what? Again, another one, kind of like Bailey and Moriarty. This is the match you expected, right? Where it was physical, just lots of dudes hitting each other real hard.
Really fucking hard.
JD Drake in control for most of the match. I love his double sentons and his shooting star press. It's fantastic. And this is what irks me sometimes. Irks me. It's when JD Drake ends up on AEW television with the Workhorsemen, right? With Anthony Henry, right? And then people are like, who the fuck is JD Drake, right? And I'm like, he's just a big guy. No, he ain't. He's not. A big guy. He's the complete opposite of just a big guy. Because he can do the big guy stuff. He can wrestle Levi Shapiro like he did a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and it being and just be an all out brawl, or then he can bring like his speed and his wild aerial abilities where you're like, this guy's he's just nuts. He's like Arn Anderson for the 22nd century, for the 22nd century. Sure, I'm already thinking, yeah. He's for the 21st century, right? Where you expect a little harder work rate, or some unexpected, some things that you wouldn't necessarily see in someone so big. He's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun match, and it really gives you the ability to see just how, like you were saying, the range that JD Drake has, which you won't see on a darker elevation from him, or even in these like quick matches with Anthony Henry on Dynamite or Rampage. No. It's good seeing them team together rather than him team with the Wingmen, because that's giving them the chance to actually wrestle their style. Henry and Drake would be great on an AEW, but we're not there yet. Hopefully it comes to that point. But yeah, no, it's nice to see JD Drake wrestle to his strengths and stuff. But it's also nice to have a partner in MV Young who can go pound for pound and hit for hit. MV's, become a better wrestler after, I think, that match with JD Drake at the Tampa Big A brunch.
Yeah, it was at the Big Great. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where stars really started to rise. Just a fantastic match. And young blades in this match too. There's blood. You got it all here. I don't know.
You do.
Super fun, solid, physical main event to cap off this series, this 3-episode series of Enjoy Wrestling. And we're going to tell you again this week, you ain't got no excuse to not watch this show. It's free on YouTube. 3 episodes of 40 to 55 minutes of wrestling. No reason to watch it because it's quality. Quality from A to Z.
And you do get an announcement for the next set of episodes, which would be the Enjoy Cup Tag Team Edition. Violence is Forever and Bussy are your first 2 teams announced for that tournament. See who else rolls out the field.
I hope the Workhorsemen are in there.
I do too. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I think it's fair to say that the Kings of the District are going to be involved, which is dope. Already there, you got 4 great independent tag teams. MSP, probably.
Yeah, I would assume so. So there's 5.
There's 5. Who are we missing?
The Runway will probably be on that to defend based on who won the first one. And I do wonder if Lee puts in himself with somebody to defend, because Lee is the first Enjoy Cup winner.
So that could be.
I do wonder.
Bring back Darius Carter, right? Why not? They still have some stuff to settle.
History there, him and Lockhart, yeah.
And the production. I think the production is going to round up that.
That would be nice.
I think that's how we're going to round up that tournament. Hey, there you go. Give me the pencil. I'll sign everyone.
Perfect.
And speaking of things that you should not miss because they're free on YouTube, Shawn.
Yes. What's free?
Well, we got a little match over there at from Deathlock Wrestling. Well, more than a match, an entire card. But specifically,
oh my god.
You got Takeshita and Brooks.
Adam Brooks from Australia.
From all the way from Australia. Over. Jesus, someone tweets that out on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is for free?" And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. So Deadlock Pro has quietly been putting on some stellar, shows on YouTube for their DPW Fire shows, and then extra. They have a streaming service for some of their bigger cards and stuff like that. But you can get most of the main content that you want to see here for free on YouTube every week. But yeah, this match right here was a crown jewel that I think will be on some people's match of the year list.
probably your boys here, because it was fantastic. It was absolutely
It was.
fantastic. And I cannot encourage enough, and I'm even going to talk about this on the main show, because this is how good it was. You know, how, you know, everyone after watching Takashi versus Page last week was like, hey, this Takashi kid, he's pretty good. You know, AEW should sign him. We should see a little more of this. He's on excursion right now in the US. You'll be able to see him. We were talking about, he's going to be on a JCW show, an upcoming JCW show on top of that. And now you've got a free match here. Like, if you thought, and with reason, right? The Page Takashi match was great. Don't get me wrong. And if the thing is, if you want more of this kid, if you want more Takashi, this is one you absolutely have to watch, because it's the Page match times 1.5.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you look at it, these two just went straight out right away. They didn't hold anything back. I mean, Brooks...
The pace of this match is nuts.
The pace of this match is nuts, and I think a lot of it has to do with both of them being high-speed wrestlers in themselves that, you know, are trained off of the same ideals and strengths that it would just work together because they get it. Like, if you put anyone else with this style of wrestling, some people can pick up and go along with it. Other people, you have to slow them down a little bit so they can more be like an in-between in the styles. But these two just gelled right off the bat, worked well with one another. It just was like right after another, there was just like move after move after move, pin, get up, move, 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 move. Like, there was really no time to breathe. There was no time to sit back and just enjoy what was going on. It just kept moving. And I like a pace sometimes of that style match. Like, to talk about something similar to this, I like the high-speed division over in Stardom because it's the same fast pace.
Yes.
This brought that same type of feel.
Well, I mean, both guys wrestle in Japan, right? Both guys are, you know, there is an entire way of training and match build that goes along this style. So there's no surprise that they click so easily. But see, the stunning thing again is that it's out there for free. It's just waiting for you and you over there to go watch it. It's ridiculous. It is highly recommended. Like, this is the kind of match where this was the best match I saw over the past few days. You know, otherwise it would have. This was
my match of the week.
Yeah. Otherwise it would have probably been something like Bayley and Moriarty. But this was it's on a whole other level. Just fantastic stuff. And then you get to understand, it helps you develop, if you weren't aware of who he was, helps you develop why a certain subset of fans got really excited when Takashi was coming to the US, when Takashi started working AEW dates. And everyone was like, this kid is great, this kid is special. This is the kind of match that you will see how special it is. But we're talking about Takashi just because I think he's topical right now, because Brooks is amazing too. Like, this is a match where it takes two to tango. You know, it's not one guy dragging the other dude. This was fantastic on his end too. He's an amazing talent.
And I mean, his excursion in the US is coming to an end, I think this weekend upcoming. But I mean, he's had a pretty solid excursion himself, really showcasing his skills and ability. It's been a while since we saw him over. Unfortunately, he was one of the casualties in the Ring of Honor, pandemic era, where he was signed over with Slex, but obviously the pandemic changed a lot of those things where they couldn't come over and perform into that audience, which I think would have, took both of them with open arms. I think Brooks a little bit more, just because he fits more of that style. But yeah, this really was a good showcase of both of them. I think, obviously highlighted Takeshita a little bit more than Brooks, but I mean, Brooks got his own in there as well. So obviously check them out both. Brooks, just giving you a jump on it, is facing Warhorse this weekend at Warrior Wrestling, Warrior 22 on the Saturday. So make sure you check that out on Fight TV. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in this show that's packed in there. If you like Chris Danker or Chris Danger, whatever you want, you see him on YouTube and stuff like that. They have him in there and stuff, like all that fun stuff. It's a very much a wrestling show that is filled with Deadlock inside jokes if you aren't too familiar with them, but you take a look at past that, you look at the wrestling, it's a very fun show. Takeshita has some big indie matches coming up himself. We can't forget about the match at PWG against Daniel Garcia for the PWG title. But he does have at West Coast Pro coming up in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, excuse me, against Mike Bailey. And then a week after that, he has Lee Moriarty for Prestige. So he has some big matches coming up on the indie scene.
And speaking of big matches on the indie scene, Moore is so good at segues.
You did it.
I mean,
we got GCW Maniac for May 22nd.
Easiest one too. It's like, the indie shows. Speaking of indie shows,
speaking of, actually, it was from Saturday, May 21st. Excuse me. Another fun show. A couple matches.
Hey, I'm gonna look. Yeah. This is my favorite GCW show since Astronaut. I really, really liked Astronaut. I thought as it stands right now, I still think it's the best show they put on top to bottom this year. Super close second, very, very, very close second in my opinion. I thought this card was really good.
I think so too. I mean, you start out with an opener like Blake Christian and Kevin Blackwood, two guys that are up and coming. Blackwood, I mean, has just jumped on. Yeah, like you didn't see it coming. Like, come on. I do think, Blackwood's up and coming on the GCW roster. I think he has become a staple of their West Coast shows. Mixing in between both there and LA fights, but has been coming on the main cards a little bit more to showcase himself. So getting more eyes on him is always a good thing. I hope that trend continues there. Bailey and Slamovich. I mean, we talked about Bailey 2 shows before. And we've always talked about Slamovich the same way we talk about Bailey. I will say I did like Bailey working the arm of Masha very much and the shoulder the entire match. I like that moonsault to the outside, the double knee right on the shoulder. I thought that just ended Masha's night and foreseeable future with a shattered shoulder or something happened there. But she sold that very well. I mean, Bailey and her put on a very good, I think, in a sense, a fast-paced match here too. The both of them just coming at one another. It was a lot of fun. Seeing
personally, you've got two of my favorite wrestlers right here. You could practically call this the Masha Slamovich hour, but she's absolutely incredible, and she just keeps, she keeps getting sharper and better and stronger, and she's fighting the people who are on her level or through wrestling them are raising her to their level. Bailey has so much international such a huge international background. Comes in with Masha, who's wrestled in Japan before. She's been around, but she's not even half as long into the business as Mike Bailey is. And she's just picking it up. And here's the thing. Right now she's specializing in the intergender matches. And every guy she's fought has been outstanding, has been fun to good matches every single time. I even say this one is great. This was a great wrestling match. No one, there's not another woman out there who wrestles like her right now on the indies. No one.
There isn't, and I don't think there will be.
And so it makes me wonder, eventually, if she starts moving up onto the larger stages, right? How is she going to be portrayed, right? How is she going to bring all of this into her matches when she's wrestling women who didn't, go through a trial by fire, so to speak, like she did, or, who didn't spend all this time on the indies wrestling these, precise, violent guys. How is that going to translate once she's in an all women's division and she can't shine maybe as much because her competition didn't have that
that
upbringing's
level.
the wrong
Yeah.
the wrong word, but
No,
you know what I mean.
training or trial by fire. They weren't
Yeah,
put into those situations, the same
you
situations
know.
that I think a lot of it is Masha wants to be put in these situations rather than them going like, oh, I think she would do good here.
Oh,
Masha's trying to
sure,
like give me somebody who can kick the shit out of me as much as I can kick the shit out of them.
sure.
And you have situations where this was a good back and forth. Impact's not using it. Prime example right now. And I mean, to go off to some of the major promotions with this, Impact's not using her properly. They're using her for squash matches to build her up as this monster. What's going to happen when all of a sudden you want her to face your knockouts champion in a knockout style match?
That's
That's the thing. Like you're saying, like how is she going to translate to that style? Are they going to
because
ask her
look,
to tone it down a little bit?
if we're
And can she?
if we're going to make a fair yet unfair comparison, you'll see what I mean. If they want, they could have another Tessa Blanchard on their hands.
Mhm.
They could. Masha could legitimately win the Impact World Championship, and kick the shit out of Moose. Have a wrestling match with Josh Alexander, just as much as with Deanna or Taya, right? Or the she has that potential. Maybe that's the end game for her, because she's going to grow out of the Knockouts title. She really
Oh yeah,
is,
she
but
really will.
just like Tessa did, And
And I.
like I said, the fair yet unfair comparison. You guys know
Mhm.
why. I'm not comparing personalities or whatnot. Just as in ring, right? Because
Right.
I remember clearly when Tessa lost the Knockouts title, everyone was like, okay, what's next for Tessa?
Yeah,
And
where
they're
does
like,
she go from here? There's really nowhere for her to go.
fights the dudes and gets into a program with Sami Callihan.
Yeah. Okay.
And Masha has that. Masha could do that. But if she goes to WWE, that's not what they're gonna have her do. If she goes to
AEW, same
AEW,
thing.
that's not what they're gonna have her do.
Yeah. My whole thing is I don't think she goes anywhere past I think in terms of like TV promotions and stuff like that, maybe Impact's the highest level that she could go because she can see herself being more of a freelancer and make trips to Japan where she can do that style stuff in like a DDT. She can get into some of these areas where she's not going to get to in the United States. I think she can, work well for herself because she's a hot commodity right now, and I don't see that stopping
No,
or changing for her.
I agree.
And good for her because like she has all the tools to be a top draw in independent wrestling, and is a top draw in independent wrestling, but to be the top draw, you know, she's believable that I think she could beat Mox for the GCW title.
She
Well,
could
I don't know,
she could
but
beat
like she could.
put her in a match with Nick Gage. You know
She
what I
could
mean?
hang with Nick.
Not a problem.
No.
Wouldn't be a problem. What else
Some
did we like on
other.
this card?
I liked Dark Sheik and Lufisto. It's nice to see Lufisto
Mm-hmm.
wrestle in a GCW ring proper. She'll get a shot at Masha June 5th in Atlantic City. So that should be a fun match. I think those two, gelled well the first time when they had it in Beyond. I think this will continue to be another match that these two will gel in. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I think, a lot of people went into this match thinking that this was Lufisto's match to win just because she was the veteran. But let's not forget, Sheik's been around for maybe as long, if not a little bit longer than Lufisto. So she's, right up there, and she's a veteran in her own right, and she held her own against Lufisto. I enjoyed this match. This was an exciting back and forth match between the two. Real good stuff.
I agree. And Luffy, both of them are great. Lufisto's great. I'm a big fan. Jordan Oliver pinning Biff Busick.
That was a surprise.
That was a
But
surprise. Pretty sure a lot of
this,
people were not happy about that.
no, I'm pretty sure not a lot of people are happy about that. But at the same time, too, like look at the rise of Jordan Oliver in GCW.
Mm-hmm.
He's, started to eat breakfast. That's why he has the nickname Big Breakfast. He's taken a lot of these things and he's become a better wrestler show after show because he's putting the work in to become a better wrestler. You look at him before the pandemic, he was this scrawny little kid who was annoying as shit. You look at him now, he's totally different. Body transformation, up the ass.
He's still scrawny.
He's still scrawny, but he's not like the pencil that he was prior to
true.
the.
No, that's true. That's
yeah.
True.
I mean, so he's now a Sharpie marker.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. He's a Sharpie. He leaves an impression this time. But yeah, he gets the win over Biff. Bussy versus the South Pacific Savages surprised me. I liked it, and I think I liked it a little more than I was expecting to like it.
So
I
thought
there was going to be a lot more shtick than what we got. We did get some.
We did, but we didn't get as much, and I think this was a better match than we would have gotten if it was Juicy and Jacob Fatu. I think Juicy and Toa Leona work very well together. I
agree.
And I think they're more of the well-oiled machine in that team, that group. But I mean, you look at both Effie and Ali, they've improved so much drastically in the ring. Effie is going to be Effie. He's going to do his, his greatest hits in the stick that he does. That's fine. It's fine. It works. People love it. So if you love it, do it. That's the type of thing, where it goes with indie wrestling. But this was a lot of fun. This was a little bit more brawlish than I expected. Who was a noticeable, who missing that I think was noticeable? Matthew Justice and Mance Warner. I'm surprised they weren't here on the show. You had them not on the show. AJ Gray has put in the scramble match for his Extreme title. Good to see Starboy Charlie back.
Yes.
He wrestled to replace injured John Wayne Murdoch. So it was good to see him back in the ring. And, it looks like he hasn't missed a beat. And he has a lot of catching up to do. We've talked about this last week. We even talked about it when he came back. Like Titus, Nick Wayne, Billy, all of them have lapped him quite a few times with him being out, and it's unfortunate because Starboy was right up there with him. Yeah. It's now time for him to play catch up, and I think he has a chip on his shoulder, and he knows that for a fact. Like, he wants to be at the level of those three.
And he had a good amount of shine in that match too.
He did.
And our boy Titus was on the card as well. He lost to Tony Deppen. I thought not necessarily the tightest match between the two. I'm not trying to. But I would never dare call it sloppy because I don't think that's what it was. But just a couple of whiff spots, lacked a little finesse. Could be due to a lot of things. Looked at Titus graduating, heading up on GCW. It's not a graduation necessarily, depending on your point of view. But heading up on GCW, I think it's a big deal. Continuing his big. The good vibe that he has right now, that momentum he has with West Coast Pro. Deppen is great.
I will say
Deppen was shoving fans, but this is his new thing. I think.
I think so, because he went down to the TW Arena and got in the face of what's his face's dad.
Yeah.
So but he's been doing that a little bit more. One of the things Deppen too, I do like that mutilation chicken wing that he does as his finisher now. That's a nice little adaptation on the cattle mutilation that Brian Danielson, used primarily during Ring of Honor. We've seen a few times in AEW. Now, I do want to talk about the main event. I want to talk
before Nick Wayne and Benito.
Go ahead. Let's talk about that first. I'll let you start.
How fucking awesome it was.
Yeah, this was a makeup for the San Francisco show, right. And boy howdy.
Oh, it was just amazing. It's crazy, and it's the same record over and over again. Nick Wayne is getting so many reps in with so many people. It's just ridiculous. It just continues. It never stops. On, and he's getting Will Ospreay in a month. And here's the thing: is that Ospreay, you hopefully, considering that Ospreay's kidney condition is all better too, because he has a kidney infection right now. Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he'll be healed up in time because, Ospreay's been, he hit the indies a couple of times, wrestled Blake Christian to a true to form match of the year contender at Warrior Wrestling, fought Titus a couple of weeks ago, Titus Alexander in West Coast Pro, which was a very good match. I mean, but Ospreay is not half-assing it. Like he's not Minoru Suzuki coming to the North American shores and having his set match, where okay, we're gonna do this and this and this and this, and Ospreay's giving it. He's being generous, he's giving, he's taking, but the matches have all been fantastic so far. So I can only imagine what the hell he's going to do with Nick Wayne at this point, because Nick Wayne he's feeling it, he's touching it, he's tasting it. He's fighting former Ring of Honor world champion Benito and having a hell of a match with him. One that you could have seen on Ring of Honor. What?
Not my champion.
No, get out of here. You know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's just it's outstanding stuff. Nick Wayne is also one of these guys that we always say the same thing week in and week out, but this was just fantastic stuff. It was just fantastic. As high flying, tight, well done, energetic. I mean, what more do you want?
It's interesting to see how Nick is trusted in certain situations and stuff like that at a very young age, where I don't think anyone else his age would be trusted with certain situations in high profile matches like he's been getting month in and month out, or however many times GCW runs a month. And
like, look, okay, maybe Bandito's not a good example because he has the reputation of being a very cool guy. But who's someone recently that like a big timer that he's wrestled?
ACH.
Like ACH could have big timed him. You know what I mean? Like he could have big timed him in the ring and just like undersell, not be as snappy on returns. But everyone is giving to this guy. Everyone likes the kid, and like you said, trust them. So they're giving them this platform, but everyone is giving along. It's not just Brett booking the kid. The people who are booked with him are working hard with him. It's fantastic.
Just think of that return on investment that TK is getting right now because of this. He's coming in. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard, but the video game is going to sink AEW in a year. Every year there's a new reason.
So, yeah, that makes sense. This year's the video game?
This year's the video game that's going to
I thought it was the new president of Warner Brothers Discovery.
Oh, no, that too. Game. Oh, yeah, no, there's two.
Things.
Two things. The video game, because the video game went over budget, something that video games never do, right? And then there's the stuff at Time Warner, because if they get booted off TNT, AEW's done, right? It ceases to exist. I don't know if you knew this.
No, I did, and I 100% agree.
Get out of here. Hit the brakes. Let's talk about the main event.
Do we have to? I mean, like everyone else talked about it. No, but from a standpoint, let's just talk about this. It goes back to my point of Joey understanding how the business works and putting somebody over like a Drew Parker. Mm-hmm. Joey wanted to. Mm-hmm. Joey would have won this match because he's, the GCW legend. He's the day one guy. He is GCW if you really think about it, besides the Gage. But he gets how everything works. This was a good build to Drew in his run in TOS. Let's just be realistic. Like, this is something that people are gonna, remember, look at, and say, oh, this makes sense. This was, Joey knew that, he's a favorite probably to win TOS. Joey made him look good. Joey made him look strong. A lot of fun spots in this match. And I will... Fire
the
spots
pile
are
driver,
tricky.
the pile driver off the stage through the floor.
The pile driver of the stage should have killed anyone.
I thought, why did Joey commit homicide before our eyes? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why did he do it? Because that was nuts. That was a crazy spot.
That was nuts. I mean, you had the thumbtack spot. You had, I mean, if even before talking about the fire spot, you had the spot where that finished the match. Drew doing the swanton off the ladder onto that board down on Joey, just crushing in the barbed wire a little bit. But people are talking about a fire spot where, guess what? Fire spreads. Fire also is very hard to get out in a quick amount of time. And you can't control fire. Should fire be in wrestling? I don't know. Maybe not. But guess what? It's cool. And, it heats up the crowd a little bit. But look, I don't see an issue with this spot. It's, to me, and I've talked to you about this is a way to, shit on Joey more.
Oh, for sure. Everyone. Look, I don't want to say everyone. I would say the vast majority of people shitting on this spot are people who have never watched a Joey Janella match of their life and listened to certain legend podcasts. And I'm going to leave it at that. That's how it is. Fire and wrestling have a long-standing relationship. They really do. And this is not this is the thing that a lot of people don't get about Joey, which is unfortunate because I feel he transmits it very well. Joey is a guy who understands the history of the business, and who loves the history of the business. So when when Joey Janela pulls a fire spot, it's because he's not inventing anything. He's like, it's a callback. It's just bringing back some of the history that we've lost over 20 years of a PG product, right?
Yep.
Because it's always been there. And he said it himself. And when I was, because I watched Maniac after the whole thing. I saw the GIFs, right? And I saw
that.
So when he starts prepping for the spot, he gets the lighter fluid. And I'm like, Joey, you're putting too much.
Joey just like...
But look, and as I was talking with Kristen, because we talked about this quite a bit as well, she and I, you're going to want, what's the line, Shawn, between putting too much lighter fluid on, the thing and not enough? What's the line? Because then you want the spot to look cool, because ultimately that's all that wrestling is. What you're going to do, is it going to look cool? So if you don't put enough, and you get just like
it's not going to look cool.
And we've seen it on Botchamania more than often. Guys who try fire spots and the fire doesn't take, and it looks stupid.
And I mean, we had a fire spot that was botchy in GCW not too long ago. Not too long ago, there was a fire spot, I believe, between SGC and Tremont and yes. And Gage that botched badly. And I'm still shocked that Tremont still wants to take fire spots after what happened to him in that match in the baseball stadium against Onita.
You want to talk about botch-esque fire spots? How about Cody Rhodes going through a table, right?
That he wasn't supposed to go through.
He first of all, he went through it and he was the one doing the superplex.
Yeah.
But Brandy put so much fucking lighter fluid on the table.
Yeah, that table should have been bad by the time they went through it.
And she herself was kind of like, oh, I think I fucked up,
Yeah, and, I mean, she realized it, but
look, the point is, fire and wrestling have a long tenured relationship, and it's not always been a good one. Now, should someone have run in with a fire extinguisher? Yes. Absolutely. At some point there's fire on the mat as well as the boot. Joey's trying to take it off. As someone runs in, does one of those, and the match goes on. Janella said, "I much prefer they poured water on it than the thing, because then it gets in your lungs and that it tastes." Well, Joey, I don't give a fuck about your lungs at this point.
I mean, you smoke, so your lungs are fucked anyway.
Yeah. That's right. I don't want you to have to go through skin grafts for like the next 8 months and not be able to wrestle because of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with the spot. The spot fucked up. What are you gonna do? My only issue with it is I do believe the water bottles was a bad look. I think
water bottles were a bad look, and then them trying to stomp it out was also a bad look. It
terrible.
It just looked. Yeah,
it makes GCW look dime store when it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be. This is the promotion that many people will argue is the number 3 in the US. Like, you can't be having shit like that.
That's good that you bring it up, because I think it's a fair conversation to have. Is it the number 3 promotion, or are GCW diehards the one that think it's a number 3 and it's really not?
Look,
because I'll tell you where. I'll let you go first, but I think you know where. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
You want me? Go ahead. It's based all on GCW fans. I don't think they're the number 3 promotion in the US right now, and I'm not. And I get it. You know, GCW is one of those promotions that has a cult-like following and has almost that ECW vibe, where ECW rose to that number 3 spot when there really wasn't anything else.
There was nothing else.
No, there was nothing else. There is so much else right now, but if you look at it from an outsider perspective, and I take my GCW glasses off and I put on my actual one so I can see, right? They're not the number 3 promotion in the US. I would still argue that maybe Impact is, or New Japan is slowly starting to get some momentum from their U.S. side of things. I mean, it does help that you get guys like some of the big Japan guys coming over and doing a little bit, but you are seeing them get a little bit more notoriety and buzz just based on some of the recent shows that they've put on. Strong's getting a little bit more momentum behind it. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I think GCW still falls into that niche audience, just because based on the different styles of wrestling, they're more heavy on the hardcore style thing.
Sure.
Which is fine. It's not for everyone, and I think Brett Lauderdale knows that, and that's why you have some offshoots like LA Fights and JCW to give them the ability to give them a traditional card in a sense of wrestling. But I think. Go ahead, Warren.
In this respect, no, but I often use that comically, because it's just because you hear people saying, it's the 3rd. But I agree. Mm-hmm. I think it's hard. It's hard to say that the number 3 company in the land doesn't have a TV. Doesn't have weekly TV. It's like there's a couple of things there.
Right. But, I mean, you can argue that they almost run weekly enough to be on Fight to be weekly.
Sure.
But even then.
It's the old TNA model.
Yeah.
Yeah, TNA used to want, but they were monthly papes, not week, right? Weren't they monthly?
No, they were weekly.
They were weekly papes. Weekly. Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's the old TNA model. But look, I think that there are many comparisons that you can draw between GCW and peak ECW, because on one hand, ECW was renowned for the blood, for the violence, for the grittiness, for the swearing, and all of that. Like, that's what it was known for. Maybe you came for that, but you stayed for the wrestling. You stayed for Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit and Rey Mysterio Jr. and Dean Malenko and Tajiri and Super Crazy. That's what you stayed for. That was the stage for some of the best wrestling matches in the U.S. at the time from these outstanding workers who all moved on to be, most of them anyway, huge stars in the U.S. There's a lot of that I see here, where GCW has this very gritty, violent foundation, but Jesus Christ, we get Nick Wayne and Benito on the card, right?
Sure, I mean, you get the hits still out of it, and you find some hidden gems that you didn't expect to be good, like we found the Bussy versus the Toko Uso tag title match to be surprisingly good. Like, there's stuff like that you get hidden gems and stuff like that. You get your standard wrestling matches, but you get the hardcore element, which was peak ECW at the time. Now, and again, sorry to bring this over to, this topic, but I think it was an important topic to talk about based on some headway that we've heard, the past few weeks and months ever since Hammerstein, so on and so forth. But do you feel that some of the buzz around GCWs has faded a little bit?
Um, maybe a little. Maybe a little because I think everyone was extremely excited about Hammerstone,
Mm-hmm.
not Hammerstone. No one really gets excited about Hammerstone.
Except for Hammerstone.
No, but look, I think the World Show. A lot of people were super stoked for it, and a lot of people were waiting with bated breath for it to help establish them as this fabled number 3 promotion, right? Because I think, just because of all the connections, what the Hammerstein represents, what it represents for wrestling fans, and so on and so forth. And personally, I thought it underdelivered. I think I'm not alone in that opinion. Some people have much harsher opinions. I thought it was a very weirdly booked show. Because
I think what hurt them was wanting to go traditional pay-per-view. I think if they just stuck to the fight show,
probably,
I don't think you would have that time picture.
But even there, man, the booking was strange. All of your GCW stalwarts outside of
originals,
the originals, outside of Nick Gage, right? They all lost. They were all in losing efforts,
Right.
And Effie lost, Ali lost, and you're like, what's going on? What are we giving the fans here tonight? We're perpetuating storylines. What is this WrestleMania that WrestleMania's building to WrestleMania Backlash? What the hell is this thing? No, but it's that kind of mentality where you're like, this is supposed to be the big show, make the fans go home happy. Instead, people are going like, well, Effie losing to Jeff Jarrett is still. Someone got finessed here. Someone got, I'm convinced Jeff Jarrett did Jeff Jarrett things to finesse his way to a victory in this one, because it doesn't make sense. To a degree, maybe Ali, but like when you look at it, all the originals were in losing efforts, or it just, I think they've had better shows since the World. Maniac and Astronaut are two that come to mind.
Yeah.
But, I think the World was a big misstep because, yes, I think everyone had their eyes on it. I think there's a bunch of people who really wanted it to work out. I was someone that wanted the World to be a huge success. Where everyone, that's all we'd still be talking about it today.
If it wasn't a success. And I think at that point, maybe there's more to it about GCW being truly number 3.
Sure.
But I do think some of the hype and some of the number 3 conversation and stuff like that is in a bubble in the GCW fan base.
No,
and I will leave it at that, as this is something we could talk about forever. But we do have a weekend slate of shows that we want to discuss in full detail. Warren, let's start off with BLP. What you looking forward to on that show?
God damn. Always bet on black. It's because it's Double or Nothing weekend, brother. This is what we're doing now. Always bet on black from Vegas. The revenge match, Effie versus Bully Starks. Yeah,
This is all Effie's fault.
Come on now.
Yeah, he's taking the blame for it. I don't know if you saw his
he's taking the blame
promo.
For it? Oh, really?
Yeah. So Effie.
Oh, yeah. He said he's the only guy. He created Bully Starks. He's the only guy who can. Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that one's right up there. Look, we're talking about the new kids on the block. Nick Wayne and Titus Alexander. That's going to rule. Davey Richards and Anthony Green. That should also be fantastic. Violence is Forever versus the LA Dojo Boys. Carl Fredericks.
How about that?
Umera. Yeah. Holy shit.
How about Bailey Radrick 2? Because we got the first one at the Unsanctioned Pro Show at Mania weekend. This should be an exciting one. And I will say it wouldn't be a Black Label Pro Show without a what the fuck match, and that's Joey Janela and Super Crazy.
Janella going after anyone who can still wrestle from the 90s who still can. He just wants them all. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and coming over from Germany, we got the rotation taking on Crash Jackson, Keita Murray, and Kobe Durst. So there's a lot of fun on that card. It's a shame at the time slot that it's on the East Coast, but it's going to be available for replay right after on Fight. So all those East Coasters who like to sleep at normal hours, like me and like Warren, because Warren's like 90, he's probably in bed by 7.
I know.
I'm sorry, 7:30.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So we got Warrior Wrestling 22 on Saturday the 28th. I'm looking forward to the top 2 matches of this card, Richards Ospreay and Janai Kai Athena. I think those 2 will be real fun. Can't go without discussing Jeff Cobb and Jonah, and I think Tootie Lynn and Deanna is going to be interesting matchup as as what are you looking
Jeff
forward
Cobb
to
and Jonah at the New Japan show, the Capital Collision show that they did in DC. These guys were in a 6-man, 8-man tag. I can't remember. And everything in the match built to a Jonah Jeff Cobb standoff. And when it happened, the crowd went nuts. People like their big brutes being big brutes upon each other. This is going to be exciting. And Tootie Lynn versus Deanna. I'm a big fan of Tootie Lynn. She's been training with Davey Richards as well. So, I'm really excited to see what she's going to do here. The last time I saw her that I saw her live was at the NWA show last year. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see how much she's come, how far she's come. And Deanna's going to be a good test for that. I'm excited. This should be good. Prestige Roseland 3. They're doing 2 nights. But we are going to talk about the first night on May 28th, the Saturday, which of course is highlighted by Mia Yim versus Maki Ito for the TJPW Princess Championship, brother.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the top 2 matches on this card, and you got Mayu Meshta versus Slamovich.
And
damn.
No one should sleep on this, because Masha wrestles the Japanese style. She's going to be great. This is going to rule. Got Busick and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, Violence is Forever versus C4 for the Prestige Tag Team titles.
It's just
you got a lot of fun on here. Shelly and Lawler,
Taya Valkyrie, and Willow Nightingale.
Evans versus Ray Oris. That should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
It's interesting to see Evans. Evans is back on the Indies this weekend. He wrestles Thursday night for VXS against Jordan Oliver.
That's right.
So that should be interesting to see him back on the Indies and hopefully revitalized and revamped and refreshed.
Maybe they'll let him do some of the heel work that they wouldn't let him do in AEW. Because he's a hell of a heel, man.
Oh, no, he is.
He's a hell of a heel.
Remember his time in Generation X and then Vulture Squad in Ring of Honor. So, he has those chops.
Yep. Well, those are our recommendations for this weekend. Outside, of course, of the big Double or Nothing show. There's still a lot of wrestling going on. There's a GCW
There's night 2
show.
of Prestige. There's a GCW show. Wrestling Revolver's putting on a show in Vegas, part of this
That's
Full
right.
Tilt weekend. FSW has a couple of shows if you're interested in seeing them on their own streaming network. There's a lot of good stuff coming out this weekend.
Busy weekend.
Wish we could watch. Busy weekend. Memorial Day weekend. A lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And June is not going to be a slow month for wrestling on any level. On the majors, on the indies, there's just stuff all the time. But we are going to wrap this one up for another edition of Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs. Shawn, geez, I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for doing this again.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you've asked me to do this. This is a lot of fun. It's good to talk about independent wrestling. It's good to, share our knowledge about independent wrestling.
Share our deep, deep knowledge that we want to partake upon people.
And let's what do you got on the docket for Thursday, Warren? Let's preview that show a little bit. Cool, man.
It's It's a
It's a
slow
surprise.
week. It's a slow week
It's-
for news so far. Like, honestly, it's very, very slow.
Yeah, it's some sad stuff coming out from the Kota Ibushi saga a little
Yeah,
bit,
that stuff
sadly.
is a bit of a downer. I don't know if there'll be
Yeah,
more developments coming on that front. I don't know how much there is to talk about at this point.
yeah. At this
Look,
point, yeah,
Ric
it
Flair.
is against Hogan.
Yeah, I don't.
Danny the Ram, brother.
Well, apparently, like they're doing the Ric Flair FTR versus Rock and Roll Express mystery partner thing. That's actually happening. They're doing
That is happening.
It's the mystery partner now that apparently might be. It's rumored to be Hulk Hogan, and I could not be any less excited for that combination of matches, despite the fact that the Rock and Roll Express and FTR are involved.
Yeah, I don't think
It doesn't speak to me, like it's something that just absolutely 100% doesn't speak to me. Look, last week we were overwhelmed with the Sasha and Naomi stuff and the Kota Ibushi stuff for last week. I'm saying it's a slow news week because there's no like massive overhanging news that's just like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, I mean, there's still some more fallout from that Sasha and Naomi stuff with more removals and all that fun stuff on socials and
At the very least, I'll just do an extremely deep dive of Wednesday's Dynamite, which is the go home show for
and
Double or
some
Nothing.
Super Juniors update.
And of course, the Super Juniors update, which is progressively going up and up and up. Last week I was talking about they rolled out the welcome mat for all the new guys. Now people are now it's starting to feel like a tournament. Now it's starting to feel like they're sinking their teeth.
It's interesting that they're doing these 10 match cards for the remainder of the tournament with both blocks wrestling.
Yeah, that's what
I like that a little bit more than some of the tag match stuff that you would get normally in these tournaments.
It's a longer watch now, Well, ultimately,
Sure,
you
of
sit
course.
down for longer as opposed to sitting down more often for shorter. How about that?
We'll be back next week with
More.
some independent wrestling. More of it.
And maybe some of this too. Yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks again, Shawn. And thank you everyone
no
for
problem.
listening
Thank you.
/ watching. And we'll see you next time.